to another edition of StandPoint. I'm your host, Joke Lijadu. President Muhammadu Buhari returned to Nigeria on the 19th of August after spending 103 days in London for medical treatment. While he was away, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo held the fort and tackled a lot of issues threatening the nation's peace and unity. Some of these issues were addressed by Buhari in a live broadcast on the 19th of August. First was the delicate issue of hate speeches and secessionist agenda. The president once again stated that the unity of Nigeria is non-negotiable.
I was distressed to notice that some of the comments, especially in the social media, have crossed our national red lines by daring to question our collective existence as a nation. This is a step too far. The country must remain one and united. Nigerians' unity is settled and not negotiable.
President Buhari conceded that there are legitimate concerns and grievances across constitutionally approved bodies. He tasked security agencies not to relent in ensuring that peace and safety of Nigerians are guaranteed.
There are legitimate concerns. Every group has a grievance, but the beauty and attraction of a federation is that it allows different groups to air their grievances and work out a mode of coexistence. I am charging the security agencies not to let the successes achieved in the last 18 months be a sign to relax.
My panelists today are all public affairs analysts. Joseph Eva, Bolaji Shoneye, and Femi Lawson are in the studio. Thanks for joining me, gentlemen.
Good being here, Joke.
Yeah, good afternoon, Nigeria.
All right, so let's start like this. You know, President Buhari was back a week ago. It's been 1 week since he came back. And we had that speech, you know, from him on Monday. Would you say that, you know, let me start from Joseph. Would you say that that speech was apt and, you know, addressed all the concerns of Nigerians, considering, you know, he's been away for 103 days?
Well, in the first place, we thank God Almighty for bringing our president back, because we really need him. And anything that has to do with health matter, it is God Almighty that is the final bus stop when you talk about health matter. So we are happy, we are grateful. Majority of Nigerians are happy that our president is back. When he was away, there was a lot of tension and all that. So his broadcast is timely, but to what I've seen, he did not consult widely, because the issue of saying that Nigeria unity, we cannot negotiate it, is not possible. Nigeria unity, every day we have to discuss about it. Anybody that is aggrieved, we say, look, I must have equal right like any other person. If there is no equal right for me and for my children, then we have to discuss the future of this country.
All right, let me ask you, Femi, would you toe the line of Joseph? Well,
I think I won't align my opinion with what Comrade Joseph just said, but I think it is also important that we bring this up here, that, you know, the speech, you know, by President Buhari on Monday fell short of the expectation of the average Nigerian, having been away for 103 days. I think fundamentally the president missed a golden opportunity of letting Nigerians know, you know, the fundamental reason why he has been away for 103 days. You recall that this president has been away for 103 days on the bill of the Nigerian people, and no reason was given for that 103 days absence beyond, you know, the reports of, you know, being ill that we've read mostly from his media aid. And I think it is also, you know, an attempt, you know, to deny the realities of what has been happening even in the last 103 days, a lot has happened in this country in the last 103 days, which were not addressed by the president in that speech. I think it was narrowed down, you know, on an agenda that is seen more on maybe the agitation of the IPOB, you know, for secession. But I think our challenges today, even in the last 100 days, you know, are beyond, you know, what the president addressed in that 5-minute speech.
Well, now, Bolaji, what do you think? Do you agree with them?
I must say that it's only a view of who is not realistic or who is not ready to say the truth that will be different. I firstly want to thank God that the president is back very healthy. And I think I was once here to defend his health status when people were agitating. And the truth is this, it is any human being can fall sick. And it is our prayer the president get the right treatment and he gets healthy fast enough. And I must say, the speech on Monday was short of addressing a whole lot of things. I must say the speech failed to address so many, and for the president to have concluded that the unity of Nigeria is not negotiable, quote and unquote, is sending out a message that the people's right or the right of the people to either agitate or actually state their own position about what they think they need or that is needed to be corrected or readdressed is no more on the table. All right, so it's like you're taking the options of discussion or dialogue off the table by using such statements. It's really not welcoming to a lot of Nigerians.
Okay, meanwhile, some sort of controversy have trailed the president's speech, which lasted for only 4 minutes and 44 seconds. Not a few Nigerians say the president's speech lacked weight and failed to address other critical issues bedeviling the nation. What do the people think Buhari should have said that wasn't included in his speech? Let me ask you, a lot of people say that, for one, the ASU strike is on the front burner at the moment, and, you know, it started when the president was away, but of course, you know, it's still on. They think that, you know, the president should have mentioned something about it. After all, you know, the bulk of the people which form, you know, a cluster of Nigerians are youths, and they're in the universities. Now, Joseph, what are the other areas that you think that, you know, the president should have touched?
Yes, I want to touch that, especially on ASU. Before the president arrived, even the Minister of Education conceded to the fact that government was not effective in handling ASU something. And in fact, the issues of ASU, that ASU was right, and it was the government that was not forceful in implementing. Immediately the president arrived, 2 days after the president arrived, you can see the face of this negotiation changing. So I want the president to be very careful. I want the president to be very careful. He has a lot of goodwill. He should not allow any bad advisors to manipulate him. Because before the arrival of the president, there was this very clear, we can see the reality that government this time around will come out, humble itself. Government will humble itself and handle the issues of ASU and even be forceful in implementing all the agreements. But 2-3 days after the arrival of the president, we can see the signals that ASU is no more, the type of excitement that we are expecting from the negotiation is no more. So who are the people deceiving the president? So the president just have to be careful. So some certain things that are on the ground that we can see, I mean, results now, because of the president arrival, some funny people in that presidency now are trying to manipulate the president to now say, the president say, we should not allow it. The president say, we should not allow it. These are the ways that some people in the presidency deceive the president and create problem for Nigerians.
All right, let me ask Femi, what other issues, you know, you think should have been on the front burner?
Yeah. You know, like the ASU was a fundamental issue. Our universities are now short. And I think any society that is thinking about the future must take education as a priority. I think it is, you know, against our expectation that the president would not even speak, you know. And I think fundamentally, in the last over 100 days or thereabout, which, if you understand clearly, is one of the bases of that narrow, you know, speech given by the president, was, you know, agitation by groups in this country demanding for restructuring, you know, demanding for cessation. In this country, in the last 100 days, we have found a section of youth in this country threatening to evict, you know, a very large, section of other Nigerians from a particular region of these countries. These are issues that ordinarily should have been made a priority by the president in that speech. The president failed to address this issue that has, we are still within the period of October 1, before the last 48 hours that this so-called ultimatum was withdrawn.
Yeah.
The president failed to speak about this, you understand, even when we're not yet at that date, The president failed to address the issue of restructuring, which is a major issue on the front burner now, you understand. And you see, I think it is very, very unfortunate that the president would narrow the fate of the unity of this country to a discussion between himself and one person, while they were not even both occupying any official position, against the demand by Nigerian people, against the demand by well-constituted, assembly of the people, like the 2014 National Confab, the recommendations. These are issues that people have been bringing to the fore in the last 100 days or thereabout, and the president didn't mention any aspect of this in his speech.
Balaji, what are the issues that were occupying your mind? What were the things you wanted to hear from the president?
Really, I must say the statement failed to address the economy, and it's a known fact, either before the traveling of the president or even upon his arrival, that we are still undergoing a whole lot of economic pressure, and we're expecting some level of optimism, statements that would re-energize the economic sector, that would boost investors' confidence and get the system going. It's a known fact that inflation and prices of goods and services are still on the high side, but when statements of optimism come from such high places, it does a lot in easing or calming down tensions in terms of economy, and probably even re-energizing that sector. Secondly is political restructuring reforms. We expect a lot of that, and then even in the area of security, we expect strong words from the president when it comes to herdsmen. Okay, to have watered down the herdsmen genocidal activities over the period of time is really, really disturbing. I must say, to have called it farmers herdsmen clashes. The truth is this: crime is crime. Okay, so we shouldn't water down some, and then even to have modeled up together the IPOB agitation, the peaceful IPOB agitation, alongside with Boko Haram terrorists, is really, really not appealing to the people.
Well, October 1 is just by the corner, and I'm hoping that, of course, the president would address some of these issues. Well, another thing that, occupied, that speech was the Nigerian unity is non-negotiable position of the government. And would you agree that in the light of everything that has happened while the president was away, what do you think about that position?
No. Immediately after the president broadcast, you can see that the southern Nigerian leaders met within 24 hours after his broadcast. Within 24 hours. So you can see that nobody is joking with those type of things. Because we are all living for our children yet unborn. You can't do some certain things now. In the next 200 years, our grandchildren will now suffer if we don't take action. Within 24 hours after the president, the southern Nigerian leaders met and said, the comment of the president is unacceptable. So when the president met with the service chiefs, he called the service chiefs to his house, and they were all on military uniform, and they were doing their salute left and right. I was surprised that instead of the president to also invite ASU, if we are not talking about our children, we are talking about education and our children. So we've just felt it's only uniform men that will be doing the salute, this and that. Those uniform men, when I saw them on network news doing the salute, I said, when are we going to stop all these things over and over and over? We need a tiger. This country. We expect professors, vice chancellors and others meeting, and the president will appeal to them that this time around, my vice president, the acting president, has moved and I've seen all the reports. I expected him to demand for the report of ASU. If our children are engaged, universities are doing well, this and that, most of these crimes will be a thing of the past. How do we engage the young ones so that they will not that every time we use fire brigade approach to use military helicopter, we are going to budget 400 billion for defense this, defense that. We are supposed to use the money for empowerment of young people to be engaged, to engage their mindset. So I believe that those who advise the president to call only military people to be doing salute on network news and television cameras as a show. Nigerians don't see we don't see those shows tire and tire. It doesn't matter. So all those salutes that we saw is unfortunate and unacceptable. We wanted ASU president.
Nigerian Labour Congress and other people to come and talk about employment, empowerment matters, and how ASU will make sure that our children return back to school. And the president is supposed to use that as part of his broadcast, because student is the, we say, future leaders of tomorrow. Now we are not dealing with them future leaders of tomorrow. We only involved in defense budget. We create the defense budget situation to be releasing money for defense.
Now, Femi,
would
you say that maybe the Nigeria's unity is not negotiable? That stands. Would you say that's what brought about the withdrawal of the quick notice by the northern youths?
It may not have been, and I think one thing we must begin to understand is that we cannot continue to deceive ourselves that we live in a united country where somebody can wake up tomorrow and say, leave my state, leave my region, and we continue to deceive ourselves that we have one unity somewhere. What the government is doing with this approach, and what we have been doing as a state, as a Nigerian state, is to continue to promote the culture of silence that does not necessarily guarantee peace. And that is the most dangerous situation we may find ourselves in the very near future. This country, some of us who believe in Nigeria, and a lot of people out there believe in Nigeria, but we want a Nigeria that is just equitable, that is built on the principle of true federalism, not a Nigeria that is forcefully coerced together, and we keep deceiving ourselves that our unity, we must talk about how we live together as a united, peaceful and loving people. But we cannot continue to coerce people together and we talk about unity. What we are saying in Nigeria is silence, not peace. And what the government is promoting is silence. Don't talk about, don't cross the red line. Don't talk about secession. Don't talk about regionalization. So we can remain one country, live the way we choose to live together. This country was founded by founding fathers on the principle of true federalism. And this is what people are demanding for. Let us go back to where we started. Because Nigeria is no longer where it began. A lot of things have been distorted during the period of the military, and now even democracy came. A lot of people who occupied positions between 1999 and now have come to bastardize democracy in its context. Now Nigerians are demanding that let us go back to the principle of true federalism where we started, and I think that shouldn't be a threat to our unity. In fact, that is one instrument that can enhance our unity, that can strengthen the unity, that can make everyone in this country understand the essence of where we have been brought together in 1914. And if we don't do that, we'll keep promoting peace, and God forbid one day everything will snowball.
All right. Now, Bolaji, do you think that that stance would stop a lot of Nigerians from talking, from dialoguing, from talking about our unity? Do you think that?
I must say that Nigerian unity will continue to remain negotiable. We will continue to discuss it, and not until we find a common ground. It is no news to any of us that Nigeria has been militarized for over 15 to 17 years. And in this period, there's a whole lot of imbalance that has been created. And I must say that the military, during their era, created more states to some section of the country, created more local governments to some section of the country. Right now that we are back into democracy, all of this should be readdressed. These are one of the things that restructuring should bring to the table. I wonder why a state like Katsina, I'm just mentioning randomly, Borno and others, with lesser population, still having more local governments than states like Lagos, all right, than a state like Ogun State has been clamoring for Ijebu State for a while now, and they never got it. And then these northern states, or a section of the country I don't want to mention, okay, continue to flourish because the military or the past military governments, which are majorly from some section of the country, had made it very easy for them to continue to have a free ride over others. For these other people that are aggrieved, they would not keep quiet. If you tell them, trying to tag the word hate speech around people's agitation, around the aggrieved trying to express themselves, then we are seeing it as if this government is not open to constructive criticism. And for you to lead, you must be really open to all forms of criticism, both negative and positive. The truth is this: I am not encouraging insightful statements or comments that will lead to violence. Yes, it's not acceptable anywhere in the world. Yeah. Okay, but at the same time, it's something that we need to point out that even this current administration is being battered from outcomes of criticism, criticizing the former government constructively, allowing the electorate, the Nigerian people, to see that this is what these people are doing wrongly, criticizing them to the point whereby people get convinced about it. So right now, if you're not allowing, or if you're refusing to subject yourself to criticism, then it's something else entirely. Really.
Well, talking about hate speeches, the federal government says hate speeches will now be seen as acts of terrorism. Acting President Yemi Osinbajo announced this at a national security retreat organized for members of the National Economic Council in Abuja last week. Let's play you that soundbite.
The intimidation of a population by words, by speech, is an act of terrorism. And this government intends to take this matter seriously. As I've said, we've drawn a line against hate speech. It will not be tolerated. It will be taken as an act of terrorism, and all of the consequences will follow it.
Well, from what we heard the Vice President saying, the intimidation of the people, I don't think that, you know, that means criticizing government. Yeah. What do you think, Joseph?
Well, before coming to that, immediately the president arrived on that problem again, because we have to be very, this country, we have to be sensitive to everything before coming to hate speeches. Immediately the president arrived, we all welcome him, thanking God Almighty for bringing him. The next thing we had was that the president cannot stay in the villa because some rats and some other mosquitoes are causing problem there. We expect the Minister of Health to come and tell us how with the whole Asorok, with security everywhere, how did rats and spiders enter the villa to disturb our president, not to settle down and all that. We need some speech, I mean, from experts. We are not talking about press secretary and all that. We want, especially like Minister of Health, to come and to go into the villa to see some of these ants and these rats and address the nation. Because when you see developed countries, any little thing that something is disturbing the president here, minister will address it, we have checked the year, and as minister, this is my conclusion. Our own, the people just give us blank statement, the president will relocate to his wife depart area and to the other side, so people go and see him there. This is what happened.
But talking about the hate speeches, so
we want the minister to come out. We are still waiting for him because our president is too important.
I'm sure
and anything that disturbs him, we want to know why.
I'm sure they will address those issues very soon. But talking about the hate speeches, what do you think, you know, forms an hate speech right now? What are your thoughts?
Well, if you use your activities and your statement to create insecurity among the citizens, that is hate speech, especially when you are threatening lives and properties. And that was why when some of our brothers came up with some statements from the north, we told them, no, you can't do that. You know how we have been living together. Don't allow any politician to hijack you. Let me give you one example why Nigeria, we cannot use hate speeches to cause some certain type of problem. People like the president of the Arewa Youth, Alhaji Yerima, when I did my traditional marriage, something, this and that, he was in my place. He came to Niger Delta. He slept with us there. In 2008, when I was discharged from hospital, Gani Adams and Yerima, they came to my house to thank God that I survived my health challenge. And so, like sometimes when some people want to play politics with health matters, I tell them, health matter. You don't play politics with health matter or joke with or make caricature of health matter or this and that. I was less than 50 years then. I was on life support for 1 week. Life support, 2008. I entered the intensive care with the former commissioner of police, Kaduna State, last Wednesday, who was former spokesman of the Nigerian Police Force. He had health challenge. He was rushed. He collapsed in his house. He was rushed to the teaching hospital in Kaduna. I had health challenge. I was rushed from my house down to the Reddington Hospital, Victoria Island. We all entered the intensive care the same day. But the same day, I came out from intensive care after 1 week. He did not come out of it. May his soul rest in peace. So that is the situation. So don't use somebody's health matter to joke and all that. It is God that decides as far as health matter is concerned. It is beyond human imagination. So that is why when the president survived it, we are all happy. Then now we are talking about health matter, I mean hate speeches. You don't. Look at the people who came to my house to see me. Immediately I came out from intensive care. I'm talking about Gani Adams
and Yerima, Alaji Yerima himself, who is the president of
regions,
they come from various areas, and we travel to each other areas. So the ordinary Nigerians, you should not allow politicians to manipulate you, because it is politicians that are creating this problem of hate speeches. It is politicians. And again, the religious people, they also have job to do. Some of these people who are sponsoring this hate speech, who are politicians, this and that, they attend your mosques and your church. Advise them to do away with the hate speech. So what the vice president or the acting president, what he declared that it is act of terrorism. The way things are going, it is actually act of terrorism if you use hate speech to create hatred among the people.
Now, seeing it as an act of terrorism, are we going to be seeing, prosecutions across board, across regions? What do you think?
No, I think before we can conclude that, we must first ask ourselves and the government to classify what an hate speech is. You see, you can't just go to people's Facebook or Twitter and accuse them of making hate speeches. And I've read through the books since the vice president made that statement, since that day, and I've not seen anywhere in any of our laws where this has been, classified.
Yeah, even on social media now, there'll be a clampdown.
The government must go beyond, speeches at retreats or media statements, to start, creating laws or promulgating laws or creating punishment for actions of the people which consider unfavorable to them. The government must define what an hate speech is. The government must come out with laws that should be taken to the National Assembly to recommend penalties, for people who make hate speeches when actually we know what hate speeches are. It goes beyond somebody making a statement and you begin to tell Nigerians that you'll be prosecuting them for making. Who are these people who are actually having access to the media, to these platforms to make these speeches? They are the same people in the ruling class, but the scapegoat will be the ordinary people who make comments, everyday comments. We must classify what an hate speech is, and there must be a law. It's going to go beyond a mere executive wish or declaration.
What do you think, Balaji?
All right, I think speeches that could be classified as hate speech are probably those that are actually inciting violence.
Premise on breaking the unity of the country.
Going directly to incite destruction of lives and properties. Then we can actually say, okay, yes, this we rebuke, and then this we don't want. But nipping every comments from either political analysts or even free Nigerians that feel they need to express whatever they feel, and then you're making it look like the government is out on a witch hunt. Yeah,
clamping down on
clamping down on people's fundamental human rights to freedom of speech, freedom of expression. I think it has to be checked, because comments and statements are relative. Okay, even in the very Yoruba term or Yoruba language, it says you could tell someone sorry and you actually meant sorry, and you could tell someone sorry
and you can mean it sarcastically.
You are laughing at the person.
Of course. So it's indeed relative. All right, so it's a very sensitive matter.
Come out to clear
the
air. What exactly is an hate speech?
Which word exactly
what forms an hate speech?
Because if we are not careful in Nigeria, one citizen will accuse a governor of not doing his job tomorrow, and then it becomes an hate speech.
All right, talking about that, recently
doing their homework. So, acting president, after the pronouncement, I hope your lawyers, vice president, I hope your committee is working on water. Yes.
All right,
you are a professor of law.
Recently, the Nigerian Army stated that it will now monitor the social media for anti-government and anti-military speeches. The military says the move became necessary in the light of troubling activities and misinformation capable of jeopardizing the unity of the country. This came after President Buhari met with service chiefs and ordered them to strengthen their operations all over the country. But many Nigerians have condemned the statement from the military, accusing the government of trying to infringe on their freedom of speech and expression. That was exactly what we're talking about. Now, when I go to Twitter or I go on my Facebook page and I write something that, I'm thinking in my mind, and then the military decides, well...
Of the Rwanda and Burundi war, these are the type of hate speeches that were on ground. Before a president, two presidents, their plane was shot down, and we experienced the worst genocide in Africa. It has never happened anywhere. Burundi and Rwanda, especially in Rwanda. Yeah. We saw the nakedness of wickedness and heartless by people in 1994. Now, we know that even in Liberia, now that there is peace and we have a woman, activist, although elderly woman, you can see how she managed the country to see that you don't use hate speech, make caricature of people that were killed in those days and all that. So hate speech, but speeches, I believe that the chief of army staff should not do the normal Nigeria style in which people will just say, we are working, arrest 7 people so that we go show say we dey work. Those are the things that has been destroying any even genuine thing. You have genuine, yes, don't use hate speeches to cause problem or hatred in the country, but you, the government, where is your homework? No homework. You, after pronouncing, you arrest some people simply because the way you mention your statement, which is even meaningless. You arrest 720 people to show the president. When the president says, yes, I gave you instruction 2 months ago. Any arrest? Yes, we have arrested about 17 or 20 people for writing rubbish. Whereas if you go to what they wrote, no, it's harmless.
All right, Femi, do you think that, you know, an anti-government and anti-military speech would also be regarded as, should also be regarded as an hate speech?
You know, when I was reacting to the vice president's speech, I spoke about classification. You see, what the military want to do in Nigeria is not alien. All over the world it is done. But I think it is done mostly to monitor insurgent activities, activities of terrorist organizations and elements on the social media. If you look at ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and a lot of them does their recruitment using the social media platform. So it is not out of place for the military to focus on activities on the social media. But I think the military should not allow itself to be used by this fighting political element, you know, to be tracking down on people who make opposition voices using the social media. If it is about monitoring activities of people who are out to disintegrate, you know, the country, who are out to cause chaos at all time, or people who have allegiance to terrorist organizations or this terrorist element, it is a welcome development. But the moment it becomes an instrument for the political class, one party or the other, you know, it is going to defeat the essence of that intention. And that thing, it is very important for the military to be cautious of their role in monitoring, you know, the social media. The military should monitor the social media for the efficiency of its own operation and to, you know, to track down elements who are using the social media to extend the scope of terrorism. But anything beyond that, I think is going to be you know, it's going to be outside the mandate.
Yeah, it will be infringing on the rights of the people. What do you have to say?
I must say, firstly, that the Nigerian military needs, we need to actually give them kudos for their performance in terms of trying to stabilize the country as far as security is concerned, even in as much as there's still a lot more to be done. But coming to tracking down people's comments on social medias and then making arrests just because they oppose the government's position on some crucial matters does not make them anti-Nigerians. Okay, as far as I'm concerned, I am not in agreement with secessionists, but yet I feel that their agitations can be addressed strongly by allowing room for dialogue. And for someone to actually, for someone to agitate, that person must make some comments that will be unfriendly to what you're currently doing. Else, you wouldn't listen. Else, the person will get your attention. Fine, but talk about using the social media or tracking social media comments and devices. It's done everywhere in the world. It's not Nigeria that will be the first. So as to control terrorism, so as to control some other activities that could endanger lives and properties to ensure security is at its peak. Okay, fine, it's acceptable. But for every comment about either the Minister of Information says something like the media from presidency said rats took over Aso and somebody said this is laughable, really, and then the next thing you begin to say police knock on your door, the DSS breaking down on you. My brother, this is out of it. So really there must be clarity on terms as to what the military should be doing and tracking and
what they should be looking, what they should be looking out for.
Else they will be looking at what is unnecessary and leaving those very important ones that would actually make them get better results in securing the nation.
All right, let's take a breather. We will continue the conversation after this short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is the Standpoint. On Friday, President Buhari played host to leaders of the two main political parties in Nigeria, the ruling APC and the PDP. Buhari charged them not to allow opposition in politics that generate to enmity among people with different political ideologies. Let's play that report.
President Buhari has in recent times come under harsh criticism from the opposition in the course of dealing with his health challenges and had venomous remarks made about his style of governance. But he is upbeat about the need for politicians to join hands in ensuring the emergence of a better Nigeria. His meeting with leaders of the two main political parties in Nigeria is to express his readiness to look away from such uncharitable remarks and demonstrate an evolving maturity in the country's democracy.
It is not a political gathering. It is a symbol of our national unity. It is also an expression of the maturity of our democracy. Multi-party democracy is a very tried and tested form of government. Opposition does not mean hostility, enmity, or antagonism. Democracy needs opposition, one which is vibrant but responsible.
Well, you all heard it from the president.
Yes.
Opposition does not mean hostility.
Yes.
Let me ask you, Joseph, would you say that, the opposition in this country, they've been very hostile to the present government?
No, he's a lucky president. He should count himself lucky. The way when they were in opposition, firing Jonathan up and down from underground and bouncing him, blew him from the air, taking him from upper court, how the boxers describe it. Yeah, so he's one of the luckiest, but he's not facing any opposition. And again, sometimes I don't know, God Almighty, help these our leaders. Because why is he only calling two political party leaders? Look at the crowd of people, everybody with their file moving. Can't he just, the chairman of all parties, secretary of all parties, or even with that, he can take the same crowd, where one party will now come with an executive of official, this and that, are making crowd. You are the father of the nation. You are the father of the nation. If you want to deal with political parties, ask the INEC man to bring the list and give it to your protocol people. Chairman of parties, and let all of them. When the president was out, it was not the two political parties that were praying that he should come back.
So he should have expanded his net.
All praying that he should come back. Look at the type of thing they are doing.
After all, we have about 40 political parties.
Yes,
not more.
Even if they are 100, let him go to the stadium and address them. If in a national stadium, make him address them. If you want to do something well, they say do it well. So calling only the main opposition party and his party and addressing them in the name is not fair. You say you are a democratically elected person. Everybody, we are all your children as president of the country. So for him not to, if the crowd is too much to enter that place, chairman and secretary of all political parties, you can address them. This one-sided type of meetings and all that is not that good image. I don't know who are his image makers. Although I praise the image makers of the president when he was in hospital. One, when they were criticizing or abusing them or this and that, they tactically try to look at how they would do their public relations. One significant thing that the image maker, what they did when he was in hospital or outside the country, they arranged the Anglican, the World Anglican Communion Archbishop, Bishop of Canterbury, to visit the president. Even if they are sending of government people, and Nigerians don't believe in government people because they are just sugar-coated mouth, they still make sure that a Christian leader of the Anglican, World Anglican leadership, visited the president. Apart from that, they also arranged Pastor Adeboye to also visit the president. That is very good image makers. But this one that they have just done, two political parties to meet with the president and is addressing the nation through the two political parties, is unacceptable.
Femi, what do you think? What exactly is the place of opposition, really?
Well, I think as it stands, the president may not be wrong to have assumed that the PDP is the main opposition political party, and maybe because of the role APC played when PDP was in government, the president may have assumed that, but I think we need to remind the president and those advising him that the real opposition to any government is the people.
The people.
And we are still there as the people, no matter the amount of meetings, breakfast or dinner that PDP and APC have together. When it is Judgment Day, which is on the election day, the Nigerian people will always stand as the main opposition.
Maybe the presidency needs to meet with the people too.
No, he must expand the scope of the meetings to accommodate, critical sections of the society.
Stakeholders.
You understand? Critical stakeholders within the society. So that to ensure, that there's a success in what, President is trying to promote peace, he's trying to bring people together, trying to encourage people to tolerate each other. But President must understand that what we have on the ground today, especially what Nigeria have experienced in the last couple of months, is no longer a PDP and APC problem. In larger part, the PDP is just coming back. The real people who have been agitating are not yet being addressed. The real sections of the country who have been making demands in the last 100 days of thereabout are not being. So the president must advance this scope beyond, meeting with this politically conscious element, to meeting people who are really agitated, people who are desirous of having answers to certain burning questions. It is not going to be out of place for the president to call the IPOB leadership, the Southwest lead. Only a few days ago, the Southern leaders met. And if you look at the caliber of people who attended that meeting, then you know that the president must understand that there are questions being raised. You cannot have the caliber of men who sat at the Southern Leaders Forum and say there are no issues, and reduce it to telling PDP not to heat it up or APC to stay calm. No, it goes beyond that. The real people who have critical role to play in ensuring that there is peace in this country should be addressed.
Bolaji, so should opposition stop playing opposition?
I must say that the president is just doing his best to actually keep everyone at bay as far as opposition is concerned, to give them better flight in possibly next election. But the truth to be told here is that the people are the ones that are meant to be addressed. Really, the agitations of the people, not just the hyper balloon, the South, the Niger Delta region, and every other areas are the areas I expect the president to address.
But he's focusing on the opposition.
But focusing on the opposition, PDP as a political party, I must say they have a... To me, PDP is not even anywhere anymore, as far as I'm concerned. Trying to come back, they are more like, they are just trying to hold on to a straw like a drowning man, I must say. But if we have to look at critical issues, the people that are being affected, people that want their voice to be heard, are the very people the president should be addressing now, if we really want a better Nigeria. Okay, people that come forward to say, we don't like how we're being treated, we don't like how our resources are being shared, we don't like how our areas are being underdeveloped, we don't like how we've been unevenly actually being treated. All right, these are the people we expect to be invited. Fine, it could be distraction at times, okay, when you say you want to do all of this, but the government can actually set up panels. And when it comes to people like IPOB, because we must say they've been so loud in the absence of the president, and the president is quite aware of it, even in his statements.
In a speech, yeah. In
a speech, I believe there should be room for dialogue. Okay, I heard Nnamdi Kanu saying the president should not come after him with AK-47, but rather come up with more valid arguments. Okay, I must say we could set up a referendum. We've had case of the Scottish referendum, all right, and the government came up with valid arguments why the Scottish should stay. They had a referendum, and even the Scottish in England voted to stay. All right, we had Brexit as well, although they never expected it was going to take the route it took. All right, and it went the other way. And I must say, these things are done peacefully. The fact that they voted even in England that the Britons should exit does not even mean they can find it comfortable to exit. They've been on this for over 3 to 6 months now, and yet they are unable to come up with a blueprint. As a matter of fact, the last comment from the Labour Party leader was that it looks almost impossible to break out. So we may end up having something reasonable with this part of people that says they want to break out. Okay, let's talk. Let's see reasons why you should break out. Okay, what if some corrections are made that could suit you guys, and then we are all even?
All right, let me ask Joseph. Now, what if, the sound from the opposition is distracting? What if, it's not letting the government concentrate? What do you think?
Well, it will be unfortunate because The president, all the opportunities are there, unless advisors, bad advisors will deceive him. Because one of the apart from opposition of political parties and all that, the Niger Delta people are not happy with the way things are. And the president met with the leaders. Since after the meeting, silent to silent. That is what is the situation. And so now when they now start causing problem, there is no oil, pumping of oil to sell oil. That is when they do fire brigade approach. We are the leaders. Open the write letter to people. It is not necessary. You, president, you held meeting with the leaders. You agree on some certain things. You travel out of the country. Your acting president was there. Nothing is happening. It is when they now see violence, they will now say they are militant. They are causing problem. But you held meeting with these people about 8 or 9 months ago, about a year ago. Where is it? What are the symptoms you are showing that you are serious with that dialogue? Nothing. So that is one major thing, that if there is eruption or problem in the Niger Delta, there will be no pumping of crude and all that. It becomes another serious challenge to the president. And we don't want just type of thing, because we want the president to really relax very well to do his job. Those things can be distractions. And they cannot just say, that is a security threat, that is a security. Did you not hold meeting with the leaders of the region? Did you not agree on something? Have you seen your timetable, whether or what you agreed on, what has been done? This is the problem. Another thing is ASU. I expected the president that the first people he's supposed to assemble is the ASU. If our children are in our homes doing nothing because ASU is on strike, what type of leadership will be so comfortable in their villa and all that, discussing something else when our children are idle? Crimes, we are seeing crimes rising all over the places. Our children are told that major and the most important thing for all the children throughout the country. Government will now be talking to advisors and ministers and all that. I want us to take the minister who said that, yes, government really was at fault. They should take it seriously and ask the minister, we want to see the president. ASU, now that the president is talking with people, ASU should also say, we don't want to talk with that minister. We want to see the president. If he's talking with APC and PDP leadership, are they more important than ASU?
I must say, to buttress you on ASU, if you fail to spend money on education and enlightening the minds of the people, you will spend more money on security and prisons.
That's what we're
prisons,
doing.
defense.
No, but let's bring it back. Let's bring it back to that meeting. Would you say, Femi, that this is a clamp down on opposition? If you say that you have to play opposition, what's the best way to play?
The role of opposition does not in any way distract a serious government. In fact, the voice of an opposition or the voices of oppositions in any society is an impetus for any serious government to do better. Look at what we are saying since the day one that President Trump took over in the United States. It has been one issue or the other. But look at the key economic indices in the United States. Look at the number of jobs that have been added to the U.S. economy in the last, couple of months that President Trump. So these are
despite
issues.
the opposition.
So for any government to describe the voice of an opposition as a distraction, I think such a government is not serious. So this government should not in any way see opposition as
or be distracted
It is not done. Opposition is even necessary, to wake you up to. We have seen states in Nigeria where ordinarily would have been so backward, but because we have elements within those states, that would never. One of the key, elements that is making Lagos to work today is the desperation of some politicians to have power in Lagos State. And that is why, if you look at the quality of governors that Lagos State have been producing, you can imagine that even if no governor will come here and will not perform, because you will not even have a night's sleep. Because the people have become extremely conscious, and the political elements in the state are also so
monitoring.
They are on you every day.
You don't have a choice. You just have to perform.
I think we should not encourage that the opposition will begin to cause it. No, it's not in any way going to distract them.
But Balaji, what do you think? Do you think that that maybe the government is just not happy with the fact that it's possible that opposition, with their opposition, may just start creating lines amongst the people?
Okay, I must firstly say that government actually probably they've measured their successes so far, and they felt it's not up to what has been promised during campaign periods. Okay, so one of the things you need to quickly do is to make sure your oppositions don't take advantage of them to actually either campaign against you or criticize you in the presence of the people you promised or made these promises to. Okay, but if I'm to say it, it is I think I heard it sometimes this week, all right, and this has to do with corruption. And there are some things we hear either on social media or even on direct news that is really not welcoming. This government is a government that has been fighting corruption. At least for the first time, we see a true fight at corruption and corruption trying to fight back. But it should not even be coming from some parts of the government to say we spend daily about 14,000 naira on prisoner. Per prisoner daily. This is absurd.
That's talk for another day. That's talk for another day, yeah.
Yes, for a government that is actually fighting corruption and such a thing is coming up from it, you expect oppositions to press on that and to take advantage of it. And I must say opposition is needed for every government to be successful.
Yeah, to try.
Else, we will find ourselves in a case of North Korea where you
cannot
even smile when the president.
Not only that, it determines the type of aircraft to carry.
Let's take a what are your last words, Joseph? Last words.
Well, the president is back. We thank God, and we believe he's working. Our children are at home. We are all tired seeing them at home doing nothing. The president should know that it is danger all over the place. So he should move into ASU matter. Nigerians will clap hand for him. If he had invited ASU president and other people in that discussion with military people, Nigerians would have given him gold medal. All right,
I hide my voice to the call for immediate action on ASU strike, and I also want to say that the government must understand that the real opposition are the people, not these political parties, and Nigerian government must encourage discussion, especially on issues that have to do with the restructuring of this country.
Bolaji, last words?
Majorly, I'll be looking into the area of restructuring because a lot of Nigerians are looking up to this. If this is what the government is able to eventually achieve at the end of this little time they have, I want to guarantee that, I want to say to a reasonable extent, that confidence will be restored in both their political party and in a better Nigeria.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming on the program. That's how we wrap up the show. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Joke Lijadu. Enjoy your weekend. Bye for now.